this is the us getting ready for the end of unit 10. This was a really big unit. We did 6 different sections in this. So this is going to be a relatively large test. We're doing page 253 and 254 for your modules. You don't need to worry about the first 5 problems. Test is going to start at number 6. You need to make sure that you're paying attention to the directions. On number 6, you need to estimate and then calculate to the sum. You have 2 problems there that have 2 pieces for each of them. When you go to the second page, they don't give you a whole lot of room on this. Most of you are going to want to use a separate piece of paper. You do need to make sure you are showing your work. Yes, this is a homework assignment along with your test review. So it will be graded. We will give you all the answers before you leave today. However, we want you to work on it and try to get as much done as you can. If you are able to finish the entire test, you can go to the center table. You'll be able to compare answers with the other students. The idea is come to a consensus, make sure everybody has the same answer. We are going to hand out a little piece of paper. You'll notice on number 11, your last part, you have to plot each set of equivalent ratios on the coordinate plane. In the test, it may be part of the test. We may give you a separate one. We're still debating on that one. Just realize that you'll need a graph paper as well. Okay? So you've got about 50 minutes to do this. That'll give me about the last 20 minutes to go over it and give you all the answers. But I will tell you in advance, it's going to go pretty quick. You're not going to be able to write everything down. So try and have everything written down before we get there. Okay? That's fine. Okay, you guys have the rest of the period to work on this. Everybody's put a testing folder, treating this as a testing environment. You work by yourself, because you will be testing by yourself. Okay, good luck, guys. Try to get as much done as you can. Okay, time to go over our answers. Starting on number 6. Remember, there are 2 parts to this. First is an estimate, and then a calculate. We need to go through. We're doing $24.99, $12.99, $4.49, and $19.95. So for my estimate, all I'm going to do is round each of these to the nearest dollar. So that's going to give me $25, $13. The $4.49 is actually going to go down to 4. If you did 5, that would be acceptable. $19.95 is about 20. So I add those up. I get 7, 12, 2, 4, 5, 6. So it should be about $62. My actual $24.99, $12.99, $4.49, and $19.95. Really important that you have neat handwriting. If you line all those up, that you line your decimal places up. Now that I got them all lined up, I'm now adding each column. 3 nines is 27 plus 5 is 32. 3 nines is 27 plus 3 is 30 plus 4 is 34. My decimal comes straight down. I've got 4, 8, 10, 19, 22, 2, 4, 5, 6. That's close to my answer, so I feel good, or my estimate, so I feel good about that. I still need to answer the question, so it will cost $62.42. Okay, Jamie and Tanya ran a 400-meter race. Race is 75 to 210. Tanya ran a race 69 and 700. How much faster did Tanya run? First, we need to do an estimate. On this one is going to look very similar. Remember, when I do the race, though, I'm going to show the faster time is actually the person who won. So I know it's about 75 seconds, about 69 seconds. So if I subtract those, I end up with an estimate of 6. So I know it should be somewhere around 6 seconds. Doing the actual math, 75 and 2/10, subtracting 6,700. In this case, I must add a 0 to the 2. I have to have something to subtract from. So that gives me what something to subtract from. Now I go 3, 1. My decimal comes straight down. Borrow again. That gives me 6 and 1,300. That is very close to my estimate. So I feel good about saying that Tanya ran the race 6 and 1,300 seconds faster. Questions on either of those? Remember, there are two parts to both of those questions, estimate and actual calculation. A sports drink calls for 7 scoops for every gallon of water. Describe how you can change either the number of scoops or the amount of water to get the drink a stronger flavor. You've got a couple different options. I would recommend doing both. If I want it to be stronger, 4 scoops of, I'll just say more than 7 scoops of mix, or less than 1 gallon of water. Either one of those would make the drink taste stronger. So be aware in the test, it may ask you, how do you make it weaker? You have to be able to go both ways. Number 8 is doing ratios of the 75 students. Play spring sport, 30 run track, 25 play baseball, and 20 play lacrosse. Write the ratios and determine whether a part-to-part or part-to-whole exists. So we have 2 parts. I need to write the ratio and then determine. For our track runners, we start with 30 track. 2. Baseball is 25. We should always simplify, yes. Both those numbers I can divide by 5. You get 6 track. 2, 5 baseball. Always. Which type of ratio is this? Part to part. Always. Okay, runner. 30 track. So now I'm comparing it to my total. It says we got a total of 75. Again, I can simplify and divide both of those by 5. This is going to give me 6 track to 15 total. So I can actually simplify again, divide those by 3. There's me 2 track to 5 total. And this is a part to whole ratio. Please don't forget to do both parts of the directions. Mr. Chan warned you guys a couple times while we were doing the practice. This test, for some reason, is one of our worst of the year. And the actual reason is you don't pay attention to what you're supposed to do, or you don't show your work. But both those are really critical on this. For number 9, both of these are the same. They go for 5 dresses with 45 yards of cloth. So now Ellen has 75 yards. How many dresses can she make? There's my question. They all are going to start with that base ratio of 5 dresses and 45 yards of cloth. And I know I need to do 72 yards of cloth. Can I go from 45 straight to 72? No. Can I simplify 5 and 45? Yeah. Guys, sometimes you're going to need to step back before you can go forward. In this case, I'm going to divide both these by 5. So that's going to give me 1 dress and 9 yards. Can I go from 9 to 72? Yeah. So here's where I'm going to show that work. Now I'm going times 8. So I do 1 times 8. 8 dresses. So you can make 8 dresses. Our next one. Now she's making 8 dresses for herself. How many is that? 1. So our question is, how many yards do I need with that? So we technically already did that. We just showed you here that it is 1 dress and 9 yards. So she will need 9 yards of material. Okay. All right. Our next one. Last week, Cecilia built 7 birdhouses with boards. Determine how many birdhouses you can make with each number of boards. So again, we need to set up your ratio. It's 7 birdhouses and 2 boards. And it's going to equal birdhouses and boards. Notice how I just set up that skeleton first, right? Once you set up the skeleton, the rest of it should be really easy. I now know my other piece of information is 6 board. So how do I go 2 to 6? Times 3. So what am I doing? 7 times 3. 21 birdhouses. Okay? So the next one, they didn't change our starting ratios. 7 birdhouses and 2 boards. And I know it's going to be birdhouses and boards. My new number is 10. That goes with the board. How do I go 2 to 10? Times 5. So on top, I'm going to times 5. 35. I heard someone say that's a lot of writing. It's really not that much writing, but if you'll do the writing, there's no reason to miss these problems because it literally will set it all up for you if you will do the writing. Got to do the work though. Okay, this last one is a multi-parter. So during online typing test, Morgan typed 144 words in 2 minutes. Elizabeth did 150 words in 3 minutes. And Ruth typed 65 words in 1 minute. So we need to create a ratio table to show each girl typing speed, and they gave me what I need to do, 1 to 6 minutes. Then we're going to plot each set of equivalent ratios on a coordinate plane, circles for Morgan's, squares for Elizabeth, and triangles for Ruth. We are then going to draw 3 separate lines through the points that represent each ratio. What do we notice? There's actually a second question in there. Who is the fastest typist? There's a question. Who is the slowest typist? A second question. And explain how you can tell. So there's a third part to that I need to make sure that I have answered. Now we're doing the tables first. We're just going to follow the order. So my first table, what is it I'm comparing? The number of minutes and how many words they do, correct?
Yes.
And they told me I need to do 4, 1 through 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So our first typist is Morgan, so we'll label her the table for her. She did 144 and 2, so I know 144 goes here. How do I go back to 1? Divide by 2. So I'm going to divide it by 2, and I get 72. Now I can do additive, because those are going up by 1, so I'm just adding 72 each time. So I'm going to put plus 72, that's going to give me 216. Plus 72 is going to get me 288. Plus 72 is going to get me 360. Plus 72, that's 6, is going to get me 432. Our next table is for Elizabeth. Our setup is exactly the same, but we're still comparing words a minute. And we're doing it for the same interval. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They gave us Elizabeth is 150 at 3. So my first entry, 3 and 150, is where I can start. The easiest way from here is to go back to the 1. So I'm going to divide it by 3. So I divide this by 3. It's going to give me 50. Now that I know it's 50, that should be really easy to fill in the rest. So I'm going plus 50 gives me 100. Plus 50 gives me 200. Plus 50 gives me 250. Plus 50 gives me 300. You guys notice what I'm doing on these tables, right? I'm showing all of my work. Are you going to get full credit if you don't show all of your work? You get full credit if you don't label your tables.
No.
You're going to get full credit if you don't label what you're comparing. Okay, I'm glad to hear you say it. Now I have video proof. Okay, our last one is Ruth. Cannot Ruth, so we put Ruth over here. Our table is going to look like the same. I've got minutes and words. Going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. They started us with Ruth at 65 and 1. So they gave me my initial. So I'm going to try to use that. I'm just going to add 65 each time. That gives me 130, 195, 260, 325, and 390. Okay, now I have all of my data. For number 2, part B, I'm going to go ahead and put my key right here by my tables. So Morgan's going to be the circles. Elizabeth is going to be the squares. And Ruth is going to be the triangles. Here are the parts that you need to draw a graph. It's not yet, so please pay attention. I think this is part of the reason that people did so poorly. This graph alone is almost a fourth of your total points on the test. So you must do your graph correctly. Here's what the graph looks like. We've given you the XY axis. We should always have a title. What is it we're comparing? Fastest would work. I'm just putting typing speed. As long as it relates to what you're comparing, that's fine. We must also always label our X and Y axis. We must label them with what they represent. The way I've set up my tables, my X is minutes. Oh, crap. And my, the thing is the opposite as long as you got the label correct. And the other one is words. Okay? Once you have done that, you're now going to set your intervals. My minutes went up by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They did not give us an interval for the word. So you have to look at your data and figure out what interval is going to work. Once you've set your interval, you have to stay with it for the entire graph. I need to get to 432. So if my graph was bigger, I'd probably go by 50s. But the way I've drawn mine, I really only have room to go by 100. So I'm going to go up by 100. Whatever you decide on your first interval, you have to do it for every interval going up. If you want to skip intervals, if you have enough room to skip intervals, that's awesome. And that's going to make your graph more accurate. Make sure you're consistent. If I wait and I go 2 to make my first one, I always have to go 2. If I do 1 for the first one, I always have to go 1. You can't change what it looks like. Now that I've got my intervals, this is everything I need on my graph. So now we're going to go through and plot each of the 3 tables. So at Morgan, 1 is 72. So 172 means it's going to be about 3/4 of the way up. I draw a circle. At 2, it's 144. So 2 is just short of halfway between 100 and 200. At 3, it's 216. So now 3 is just past the 300, just past the 200. At 4, we now are at 288. So now I'm going to be just shy of the 300. Guys, once you've done this, you must use a straight edge. Say that again. Okay. Don't mess it up on the test. I started at origin. My lines go through all of them. Wrong again. Okay. So once we've done that, you should make sure that you have an arrow at the end. Come with it, and you should label who it is. This one is Morgan. And I already did my second one, Elizabeth. At 1, she was 50. So she's lower than the first one. It's about halfway between the 1 and 2. At 2, she's right at 100. So now we're down here. At 3, she's at 150. So now we're directly between them. At 4, she's right at 200. At this point, I've got enough data points to go ahead and draw my line. You should go ahead and draw the rest of them. I'm just running out of time. But the more plots you have, the more accurate your graph will be. Again, don't forget to put an arrow at the end. This one was for Elizabeth. And then our last one is Ruth. Now we're doing the triangle. For 1 at 65, that's going to be just below where Morgan's was. Oh, that's at 1, sorry. At 2, she was at 130, so we're just after the 100. Get a little more separation from Morgan's line. At 3, it's 195. Now we're starting to really see the separation. So we'll be able to tell those 2 lines apart. At 4, we're at 260, so just below. So you can see as we kept going, there's more and more separation between those 2 lines. Now, oh, that's right. Okay, there we go. And so our last one for Ruth is going to be right in between the two of them. Okay, our last part, who is our fastest typist? Morgan. Forget how it says, explain how I can tell. So Morgan is fastest because her line is highest at any point.
I'm watching you.
The second question, slowest. Slowest because her line is lowest at any point. Yeah, that being said, for intervals, you did words on the bottom and then one side.
Yeah.
And that's fine as long as your explanation takes that into account.
Boy, it ended up being though.
Make sure that your applying is make sure your explanation coordinates with what you are. So, last time we put on the video of what the points were. You get 1 point here for your title. You get a point for having your late X's with what they are. You get a point for title. Correct. You get a point for each of the 3 lines. You can see right there is 6 points just on the graph. That's one part of this one problem. Only the downside. You guys are having to tell Thursday. Seriously. In the recording. So that's not really acceptable. Any last questions on anything on the test before we get going?
For the labels, does it so designated here or does it be on any side, like axis or x-axis?
It can be, but you should set your, it should be according to your table. So remember, your table, my X is here, my Y is here. That's what my graph should look like. Okay, good luck, guys.